Let's disconnect the battery before we get started. 8mm wrench or socket. Just remove this bolt here and pull off the negative battery terminal. Set that aside. Just going to put this bolt back in, that way I don't accidentally lose it. Right here, there's a 12mm nut. I'm going to take that off. This is the main power wire that goes to the starter. Go ahead and unscrew that. Set this aside. There's going to be a washer, a lock washer that comes with it. Take that off, and you can pull the wire off. Set that aside. Right above this 13mm nut that we just undid, there's an 8mm nut that we have to also take off. Take the nut off. There's a washer and a wire. Remove both. With a 13mm socket, remove the 2 bolts that hold the starter on. On the second one, I'm going to hold the starter. Take the bolt off. Pull the starter back. Slide it out. Okay. Through the top. There it is. Take this shield off. We'll put it on the new starter. Discard this. Let's put this heat shield on here. Line it up. Just press it down. Let's get the new starter in. Line it up. Press it into place. Just like that. Let's get the mounting bolts started. Cleaned up the threads a little bit. Put some anti-seize on the shank of the bolt so it doesn't rust. Start those on. That one's in. Get the other one in. I'm going to start those by hand. That way you make sure they don't cross thread. You'll have a bad day if they do. All right. There we go. Let's snug them up and then torque them to 37 foot-pounds. There's 1 and 2. Before you reconnect the wires, check them for any corrosion or rust. Obviously this one's okay. I'll still clean it up, but this one's in poor condition and it may not even make a connection. So I'm definitely going to sand this down to bare metal. I know that sounds opposite of what you want, but you have to make a connection somehow, and the rust here is not looking so great. So I'm going to sand this down, get it nice and clean, and then we'll mount them both. This is what you want it to look like, nice and clean and free of any rust. Go ahead and connect the top wire. Your starter should come with a new lock washer and a nut to go with all of these connections. Let's snug this up. This is still an 8mm. Be careful when you tighten these because the studs are very delicate and they can break internally. So once you bottom it out, just give it a little snug and then stop right there. Let's do the same with this main power wire. Go ahead and put this on. Make sure it's lined up correctly. It'll have a little slot that tab kind of hooks into, and it'll fall into place. And just like the smaller wire, lock washer and mounting nut. And this gets torqued to 30 inch-pounds, which is really just bottomed out and snug. So that's what I'm going to go for. This is now a 13mm, not a 12 anymore. So I'm going to, like I said, just tighten it up, give it a good snug. If you want to torque it, 30 inch-pounds is the torque, not foot-pounds. This is a delicate stud that you can break off internally, so be careful. At this point, if you wanted to put a little bit of dielectric grease on the top of this to cover it, you can go ahead and do that. Unfortunately, this doesn't have any sort of coverage from a boot or anything like that. But definitely don't put any dielectric grease between where the wire touches the terminal, because that will actually prevent the connection from being made. Let's reconnect the battery. Take that bolt out, put it through the wire, put it back onto the terminal of the battery. Make sure your connections are clean, of course, just like we did for the starter. Go ahead and snug this up. All right, let's start it.